Hi, everybody. Hope you are having a great Wednesday. It has been 2 weeks since I last chatted and did this live series. Thank you for excusing me last week, sort of short notice. We are in the midst of our series on nudges. And so today we're going to talk about what nudges are, considering both understanding mapping, which is the most recent episode, last week's episode, which was about incentives, and also going to answer any questions you have. So do feel free, if you're watching live, to go ahead and enter a question into the chat box. Also give any sort of likes or thumbs up or hearts or whatever you want to give if you enjoy anything that's being commented about here. I do have some questions that have come in advance, so I'm going to go ahead and be addressing those throughout this session as well. And I look forward to hearing the questions that you have for me here live. So the thing about nudges and choice architecture is that we can't get away from it. It would be really nice, I guess, if we could. In the world of behavioral economics, we call the people who would be the most logical, who don't need nudges, who can evaluate everything and who do everything by the book, I guess, in the most logical way. That's a separate species from humans, and they are called econs, which is why, since traditional economics didn't accurately predict behavior, that's why those people are econs, if they would follow the actual everything in the way that an economic model would predict. Because we humans are full of errors and some interesting decisions, that is where we end up with the need for nudges. And nudges are what help someone to make a choice. So you are a choice architect if you're helping people to choose your business, if you are providing options for products or services. And there's, as I've said, an entire series going on the podcast right now. We're almost halfway through on that. So it's with the acronym of nudges. We have gotten through N and U, and defaults is going to start this coming week. So the N for nudges is for incentives. And what it really means is that you need to consider, it's more than just like an economic incentive in the case of like motivating your employees by saying, like, you sell something, you get something, along those lines. But what you want to be doing is, when you're setting up and considering incentives for a choice, you want to ask yourself the questions of who chooses, who uses, who pays, and who profits. And then you also have a fifth question that I've added on to Thaler and Sunstein's list there, which they mentioned throughout some of their other work, but is that you want to make sure, is there a mismatch? And what can you do to align those incentives properly? So throughout this series on choice architecture and nudges, I've been talking about air conditioning and our choice to get air conditioning installed in our house, which is something that is an expensive purchase. It's something you have to make a decision about. You have to really want it and need it in order to move forward. And it's been an interesting process watching how they present the options. So in the case of air conditioning, who chooses would be me, the consumer, my husband and I, making the choice if we want to get air conditioning. Who uses is also us. Who pays is us as well. But it's important to note that we don't just pay in money. So yes, there is an expense for getting it, but on the flip side of the choice, we pay in discomfort. So it's not nothing or you pay for it. So we would pay in hot days and being stuck in our house when it's really uncomfortable. We could be paying, my husband pays in the complaints from myself and from the kids when it's too hot. And there are other, different forms of payment that we're having to bring into the equation. And when it looks at the choice, you also want to be looking at what sorts of choices that we have. So as a business, considering from the state of mind of your customer, what are all the choices they could make? So yes, the customer chooses, but it's not just, do you want air conditioning or not? It's, do you want to cool your house or not? If you do you want to do it with central air? Do you want to buy a lot of fans? Do you choose to just go stay in hotels when it's really hot on those days? Do you want to have this upfront cost? There are a lot of those sorts of questions. And finally, on who profits in the case of air conditioning, it's the manufacturer that sold the unit to the company who's coming out and pitching to us, the company itself, and then very likely the person who's making the sale, who's closing the deal, who's coming to our house and doing the bid. I'm sure he gets some sort of an incentive based on closing different deals, units, purchases, whatever it happens to be. So understanding where everything lines up and how that can be properly lining up your incentives is important. So in our pitch, when he was talking to us about air conditioning, he sort of willy-nilly had said, oh, and by the way, do you want, there's Wi-Fi, and if you want a Wi-Fi enabled model, I mean, you can sort of go with that. Some people like it and some people think it's weird, but but he didn't really tell us what it was, right? So say, okay, well, give me some more info, because it was the same price as the basic model. The Wi-Fi enabled model allows you to use your phone and adjust the temperature from anywhere in the house. And they would set it up on both the heat and the AC. And so we would be able to, if you're ever in the middle of the night and you feel really cold and you think, Bert, it's freezing, I want to go turn up the heat, but I don't want to get out of my warm bed and walk down the stairs to go do that. You can just change it from your phone. You could also, if you went on vacation and you realized that you left the heat on or the AC, and you want to turn down the temperature to save on your electricity and some climate control, best for the environment, whatnot, you can do that too. And you can change it from your phone. So why wouldn't we want that? That's obviously the best choice for us. And so looking at how you would align the incentives if you are with the company would be, there's a potential that his incentive, maybe he makes more on selling the basic model, and that's why he was a little bit wishy-washy. And he maybe makes an extra $200, say if we get basic models instead of Wi-Fi enabled, because it's less cost for the company. But it's not the best choice for us. And on a purchase that is on average $6,500 for house, I don't want my 10, 20 year purchase to have been determined on somebody's kickback, their commission that they make on selling a unit and what was best for them to get an extra $200, right? So if the company would instead align all of those incentives and say, we want the best model for users is going to be the Wi-Fi enabled. So we want to price it in a way that it's best for us, the company, and put the proper incentive on it for the person who's making the sale. And so they're going to get the most on that. It's best for everyone. It makes it easiest to help have a choice. And then mapping is just the way that you set up in the customer's mind, the way that they can get from the choice to the benefit from that choice. And so the way you can explain comes up in framing and things like that. I do see we've had some new viewers join us live. So I want to let you know, if you do have a question that you would like to ask about your business, I would love to address it here during the session. So please add in your question at any time. It doesn't have to be specifically about nudges. It doesn't have to be on incentives or understanding mapping. It could be about anything that you would have a question on. Speaking of which, one question that came up on social media was from Casey Gromer, who I've mentioned on the podcast before. She has Wave Marketing and is a virtual CMO, really great lady. So she was asking about nudges online, so digital nudges versus in-person nudges, and if there would be a way that you approach them differently, if there's anything different to consider, and which one is better, I guess, was sort of the rounded out portion of that question. So the thing is, the nudge is something that you put in place to help somebody make a choice. So the benefit of being online is that you can set up and kind of bring your own human error out of the equation in the way that information is presented to the users. So on behalf of your staff or yourself, if you are able to use the digital nudge, then you know it's going to be consistent. It'll be the same every single time. So you can sort of, I guess, like set it and forget it. You can have it all ready to go and be set up with your nudge and know that it's going to be doing the thing that you want it to do. It's also really easy with some sorts of digital nudges, depending on if they're in an email base or through websites, things like that. You have opportunities for tracking that you wouldn't otherwise. And so you would be able to do testing easier. So you could do some sort of like an A/B test to see if we put in a nudge here and we don't have it here, what happens? Does one version of the email do better? Do more people click on this? Are more people going to download the lead magnet? Do more people follow up? Do more people do this? Seeing how you can tweak the nudge to be able to get better impact. So digital will allow you to do some A/B testing and things like that that can be more difficult if you are in just a conversation with somebody. In person, though, you have the ability to adapt. So in the upcoming episode on defaults that's going to come out on Friday, I talk about the true default, the natural default, which is what happens if somebody does nothing, and the implied default. And the implied default is something that you can do in the way that you frame a message to help encourage somebody to see something as a default, even though it's still them taking an action. So let me tell you what I mean about that. In the air conditioning example, the natural default is, do you want air conditioning, yes or no? And no is the I do nothing, I don't get air conditioning. And so that's the easiest thing to do. That's the way that our bodies tend to react. That's what we think we're going to do. So you're having to overcome a really big hurdle when the question is phrased as, do you want to buy? Yes, no. And that's your default. So if instead you go to an implied default and switch the conversation to say, most people go with our Wi-Fi enabled option. Would you like to move forward with that? Or you could say, most people choose a 24-month loan and for their air conditioning services, we have that. It would be $295 a month for you. You could also pay cash up front for a 5% discount. Which of those options would you prefer? So in this case, now you've created the question to be more about, do you want to go with the loan, which is the implied default because most people choose it, which takes herding behavior and you're using framing and whatnot. So most people choose this, but you also have this option. Which do you prefer? And I know I see at least Nikki Rausch has been either liked or watched at one point, and that uses a lot of her language from Sales Maven as well. So which do you prefer implies the sale, and that the default is to get one of those options. You're going to get something. How do you want to pay for it is what you've moved the default to. And so when you're able to go through the choices and you can read the situation in person, you're able to adjust your default more to an unexpected conversation, or somebody maybe doesn't like the way that you've talked about having it be $14 a day on a hot day, or you can look at the different ways you're going to format your questions back to them and the way you present information in person in a way that you really can't do properly online. You don't get you can hear the tone in their voice and things like that you just don't get. So those are some of the options there. In reality, you're using nudges all the time. It's like everything we do all the time is nudges for sure. So knowing that anytime you're making a choice, from deciding to watch a live or to go when somebody wants to get your lead magnet, or they want to do what option you pick in the cafeteria, where you place the food in the cafeteria, those are all nudges and choice architecture, whether you know that that's what you're doing or not. So being able to look at all the places where choices are around us, it's really amazing when you think about all the options that exist. And so another thing that has come up recently, and this was another question from Nikki Rausch a couple of weeks ago, she had asked about a good example of choice architecture and a nudge that I had seen recently. And there was one from Amazon, and I talk about this on the upcoming episode as well. But I went to buy some mascara, and I have had an issue where I've forgotten multiple times to buy it when I've gone to the store. I don't buy any sort of fancy brand, they have it at Fred Meyer, but I always forget to pick it up. And so then I get home and go, oh man, I forgot to do this. This is expecting error, which is the E in nudges. And so then being able to know that I'm forgetting, I had a moment of, oh yeah, I need to order mascara. So I went to search and see if they had it on Amazon, and they did, which is great. And it was actually less expensive than what I've paid when I've gone to the store. So felt good about that. The default that they put in for the way to order my mascara was on a subscription. So it defaulted to a 1-month subscription, and it would just keep on shipping them to my house. I don't know if you've seen this, if you've experienced this, give a like or a thumbs up if this has happened for you on any sort of purchase recently. But the beauty of this is the default in buying something on Amazon is one time for most purchases. You're just going to get it once and then you move forward, and you could get something else. They have suggestions of things you might like. Those are nudges as well, but they don't set you up on a recurring buy. And so that's not what our brains are trained to think of when we go to Amazon. I don't think that they would set up a recurring mascara purchase. I mean, that's awesome, but I didn't realize that was something that they would even do. And so I'm not thinking that's an option. So I'm not going to tell them in a survey, what would you want or whatever it is, but being able to take this evaluation and understand the nudge that person might need or want, then as a business, women who wear mascara will run out on a semi-regular basis. I don't wear makeup every day, so monthly is a little bit much for my needs. But there are plenty of women who go and buy mascara on a very regular basis, and all sorts of other items that we would get and need to go and remember to buy. And if we don't have to have that burden on us as a customer, and it just shows up like, hey, my mascara is here, I guess it's time for the new one, and then you move on, right? It's much better for the customer, and it's better for the business. You're not having to chase those sales. You don't have to spend time sending them emails and doing all this other work. So this also can set up in the mind of the customer a new potential default and a thought for Amazon. So for me now, I might be looking for an option for a subscription model from Amazon in a way that I wouldn't have been previously. So I wouldn't have taken the time or thought if I was buying toilet paper, I don't know, or protein bars, or, what are the things that we buy on Amazon, so to then look and see if they have a subscription model that I might be able to get for some of those items that I need on a regular basis and don't want to forget or run out of. And there are options for all sorts of businesses, not just products, for opportunities to look for those sorts of nudges when someone needs something from you, what they're going to want, what they're going to need, and how you can help them. So understanding the place they're going to be in, what they're going to want, and then how you place your nudges along the way. Yes, thank you, Lara. So Lara Curry, you say that little awareness does go a long way. That's for sure. And that the subscription model is taking over. It's true. Subscriptions are really everywhere, and they can be really beneficial for people. And the thing is, a subscription changes the default, because once I get into the magazine subscription, mascara subscription, Rent the Runway, Netflix, Spotify, on and on and on and on and on, the default now, if I do nothing, has shifted from not buying to buying, because you're going to automatically charge my credit card every single month, whether I'm watching Netflix or not, whether I'm reading that magazine or not. You end up getting that charge on a regular basis. And so for the business, again, that's useful. It's not and in many cases, it's helpful for the customer as well. But knowing how you're going to set that up can be really important, and understanding the way that you've shifted the default, which can be really helpful. Again, that is the topic of this coming episode on Friday, is going to be about defaults. So if there were questions, Laura, if you had a question about something, feel free to ask, or anyone else who's watching live. And if you're watching the replay of this, please do leave a message in the comments. I'm happy to, I'll be going back. I like to go back and check these. So if you do have questions, you can put them there. I'll answer them in a future week. You could also put a question. You can just email me, Melina at business.com, or you can find me on social media as the Brainy Biz. So you could write a comment on the Facebook page if you wanted me to answer it in a future live edition here on Facebook. So as we are going to wrap up here, I'm going to talk a little bit more about understanding mapping and how that works, which is the topic of this current episode 37, I believe. And so on that episode, we talk about how you get someone from the choice to the benefit. Thaler and Sunstein call this taking you from the choice to your welfare. And thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. So when the way that you get from choice to welfare in something like choosing a flavor of ice cream is very easy. You go in to buy ice cream, maybe they have 3 flavors, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. It's pretty easy to know which one you're going to like, which one will make you the happiest. You've eaten ice cream before. If you haven't tried any of those flavors, if it was your first time eating ice cream, they offer you a taste test. And even if they have a bunch of flavors, they have options for you to help you get from, do I like this better or this better? You can taste and get to the end. It's a really simple process to get from A to B in that case. But there are some more complex choices, like choosing a medical treatment, where you don't really have the option. You can't taste test per se and know exactly how it's going to work out. So in an article on choice architecture from Thaler and Sunstein, they talk about a man being diagnosed with prostate cancer. And so in that case, most people unfortunately make the choice of what treatment they're going to do in the first appointment where they get the news, which is really a bad idea for making good choices. So as the choice architect, as the doctor, you should know that you don't necessarily want to put them in that position if you don't have to. But the problem with making a choice when you've been presented with this information is that you don't really understand the consequences very well. And even if you know that you could have there's length of life, there's quality of life, there are different side effects, and all these things like impotence and incontinence, and you're making decisions about something when you don't know how it's going to actually impact you on the other side. So you have to make a choice based on the information that's provided for you, but you don't really know how it's going to impact you and how it's going to be different from whether you choose surgery versus radiation, or if you were to just wait and watch. So being able to present choices in a way that helps someone to understand what the actual implications are and how that could impact them, and giving them the opportunity to look at these multiple options of surgery and radiation, or whatever happens to be. The issue becomes, most doctors will end up recommending the thing that they specialize in, and people are most likely to choose to go with the thing that they're presented with first, whether it's actually best for them or not. That's the default coming in again. So as a person who's been diagnosed with cancer, in this case, you happen to have been diagnosed from a doctor who specializes in radiation. They recommend radiation treatment. So that's what you end up getting, even though surgery might have been better for you. And so understanding how the map of the welfare, helping the person who's making the choice to see what's going to be best for them and how that all works together, is the process in understanding mapping. This one is the most complex of the 6, like for sure. And so if you have questions about understanding mapping, it's not surprising. My virtual assistant, Nicole, who does my emails for me, she's with Virtual A Team. She had reached out while she was creating the email for me and said, I see the notes you gave and whatnot. And I was trying to research for how to word this email. And there's just not really much out there about mapping and nudges. It just doesn't exist. This is one of the, I guess, forefronts of behavioral economics. Choice architecture in general, as well as mapping, is a concept that just doesn't have tons and tons of research or insights or information into it yet. So we're on a new frontier. We're creating this together. So if you have questions after you've listened to the episode or reading the show notes online or anything like that, please do reach out to me. Like I said, this mapping one is it is sort of, it's simple once you get it, but being able to understand how you can help somebody along the path can take a little bit of getting used to, especially when it has such a deceptively simple name like a map. We get what a map is, right? So you need a legend, you need a key. Think about maps from school. What are the things that you would be needing to get from A to B or Z in the process of any sort of a choice? And think about it in that context. Again, there is a helpful freebie worksheet for you on the website at thebrainybusiness.com/37. And there are worksheets for each of the episodes so far. Yeah, 37 on understanding mapping. The one for incentives is at thebrainybusiness.com/36. And I would be happy, again, to answer any questions that you might have about mapping, how it works in choices, incentives, how they work, as well as any of the upcoming episodes on nudges and choice architecture. Next week, we are going to be digging in on defaults, which I've talked about a little bit today. That episode comes out on Friday. So if you do have default related questions, feel free to send me an email, melina@thebrainybusiness.com, post them on the Facebook page and let me know about them there. And maybe comment on them on this post and I can address them next week. I look forward to speaking with you then. If you have questions about anything else as well, it doesn't just have to be about defaults or nudges. That's what I'm here for, to answer those on a weekly basis. And let me know if you're liking this content, if you're finding it valuable and helpful. I hope so. And if you think of another way that you would like to interact with me, let me know. I do work with clients one-on-one. Again, you can send me an email, melina@thebrainybusiness.com, to learn more about that. I will see you next week. And until then, thanks again for listening and learning with me. And remember to be thoughtful.